So Sarah, let's start at the beginning. Why do corporations and institutions buy renewable electricity directly from developers?
So corporations that are doing this are doing so for a number of reasons. You can see them listed here. It's usually some combination of sustainability goals, strategic gains that they can get from showing their leadership, or branding. There's the potential now for long-term savings as the cost of renewables have fallen so dramatically in recent years. And finally, entering into a power purchase agreement for electricity is a way to hedge against future power prices. If we look a little bit more deeply on the next slide about the different sustainability reasons, that's obviously a broad set of things. There's actually different ways in which a business case for sustainability can help. There's, of course, the sort of customer demand, the external facing, green pledges, those types of things. But many companies are actually finding as much or even more value internally in being able to attract or retain employees through their sustainability actions, as well as managing the demands of stakeholders. And then again, as I mentioned, that risk management piece. So typically sophisticated companies are seeing the multiple different types of benefits from purchasing renewables combining.
Thank you. So now we have it's interesting to see there's a lot of momentum. We have a lot of companies declaring emissions reductions goals or renewable clean electricity goals. On the next slide, there's something I would want to share. It's really interesting to see how this momentum is gaining traction, how we've been seeing more and more companies signing on to committing to having science-based targets. So that means that they're committing to being ambitious around the Paris Agreement. We have RE100 companies committing to having 100% renewable electricity. And this is something that now over 230 companies have committed. So you can see the growth over the last 5 years, which I think speaks to the momentum that this is gaining around the world. So now we talked about the different motivations around sustainability, around risk mitigation, employee maintenance. There are different motivations, as you mentioned, Sarah. But then there's also something that makes Alberta quite special. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. So what's unique about Alberta compared to, the US, where a lot of these deals have happened so far, is the fact that we have a relatively robust carbon market. It's been in place for quite a number of years now. And so that offers potentially an additional motivation. So, you may still have companies that are pursuing these sustainability goals, but there is actually an alternative option, which is to directly monetize the environmental attribute. So, a company that may have an emissions target could use environmental attributes from renewables as opposed to paying into the fund, for example. And so I think that opens up really a new world in renewable energy procurements here in Alberta.
Yeah, and it's when I talk about these kind of deals happening around the world, the momentum that it's getting, it's interesting to see that people are quite interested in it, but they are wondering, what is the scale of this? How do we what is coming upon us? What is the magnitude of this? And I think the slide that we have on right now gives a really good picture on where this is going, where this could be going in Canada, and where it has been going in the US over the last 5 years again. So in the US, you've seen this constant growth over the last 4 years. And the interesting part is, just alone last year, we had over 9 gigawatt of renewable electricity capacity purchased through these kind of deals. So the interesting part is if you want to think about the magnitude of this, the Alberta generation capacity is 16 gigawatt. So this is just the sheer size I find quite impressive that just happened last year in the US. So over 9 gigawatt were procured through these kind of deals. And then you're wondering who are these companies, who are these corporations that are buying these kind of deals? So it's companies at the beginning, it was a lot big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, but now more and more other sectors are also coming in, like ExxonMobil, Walmart, T-Mobile, and General Motors. So it's interesting to see that now it's something that is across the different sectors, but it was at the beginning driven by big technology. Great. So all of these companies bought renewable electricity directly from developers. I was wondering, Sarah, if you could talk a little bit about why are these companies not just buying some offsets? Why are they going into this kind of deeper level of engagement? Why are they taking on some of the risk of buying, being part of a renewable electricity deal? Why are they going through these kind of internal barriers, figuring out accounting, bringing in internal stakeholders? What is their motivation? Like, why are they doing that?
So offsets are a great way to get into the market, and many of the companies that you mentioned started there. And then what we see is that as companies become more ambitious, they become more comfortable with what it means to buy renewables. They understand that purchasing renewables directly, entering into these contracts directly, can have more of an impact. And so, people sometimes talk about this concept of additionality, but basically being able to point to how the action that you took led to more renewables on the grid. And that's where this kind of direct arrangement is really the better option.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to see what some companies have been able to do in a short amount of time.